Welcome to the first Rock and Roll Rugby World Cup 2023 edition. Now, as you guys can see, I'm trying to be fancy. I've created a little studio just to have something different for this World Cup, just to bring us a little bit more into the, the vibe, the France World Cup vibe. You can see here behind me on that side, we've got all the players. Maybe I might not play, but yeah, you see, and there we've got all our pools this side, sorry. So yeah, I hope you're going to enjoy the studio with me, and in today's one we're actually going to be talking about Fiji versus Wales, or Wales versus Fiji. So we know from a Wales perspective, they have not had the best warm-up games, lost against England in a very, very close game. Why did I say India? No, I mean England in a very close game. Lost to South Africa. South Africa beat them quite convincingly. Now we're going to be looking at this first game Monday 11th September, so it is a little bit of a time away, but I want to focus on those teams first as we do the previews. I'll look at all the bigger teams. Who do I think is going to win? Kind of analyze the teams and let's see what we think is going to happen with these teams. So this was my first pick. I think it's going to be a really interesting game between these two teams, because then on the other side we look at Fiji. Now Fiji's up to 7th in the world ranking. So theoretically, Fiji should definitely, if you look at world rankings, beat Wales. So how do the Fijians play to their strengths? Speed up the ball. Try and, for the most part, try and get those balls out and get it into the back line's hands. The Radradras, get it into that fast man Habosi's hands. Kuravoli can be like really dangerous in that scrum off position, sniping around the edges. And of course, Naya Selevu, the center that Fiji's got at the moment. Boy, how good was that guy in the last game? The Fiji Drua team and all of that, they have improved a lot. And I think for the future, Pacific teams are going to be outstanding. What do I think about this game? Man, it's so tough to call. And it's just for me, when I'm looking at both teams, I think Fiji, from a backline point of view, are so dangerous. And on a one-on-one type, most teams will get found wanting just because of, it's such a difficult, it's like a bunch of forwards playing in the backline. So they're super fast. They can be super dangerous, and for Fiji, fast, quick ball to the back line and kind of like the offload type game and just running type rugby is still their DNA. For me, from a Wales point of view, yes, they can run it on the back line, but they've not been great lately. But they do have some danger men. Reece Samet, for instance, is another one that we have to talk about. Such a danger man, and you can really say the same for Dyer. So lightning fast wings, so you do not want to feed the Welsh any ball to the wings, because they will be able to punish you. A forward packs, that's where I'm concerned when we are looking at Fiji. I would love Fiji to beat Wales, but at the same time, I mean, we have to also say it doesn't matter how poorly they do during the year in the Six Nations and all their games, but as soon as it comes to World Cup, somehow they pick themselves up and they're pretty good. Now we know with Catlin there, I just feel that you can't write off this Welsh team. And then of course, also Dan Bigger in that team. Dan Bigger makes a huge difference in that Welsh team. But anyway, let's react to some clips. Everything's going to be in slow motion, guys. I wanted to show you this from a slow motion point of view. So you can see there, this is the game against England. Just look how slow the Fijians are to get over the ball. There's just no commitment there. If you look at that, there's no one trying to actually challenge, the Rucks. Here's another example against France. I went back to the last two games, guys, because I think that'll give you a good idea of the form. They get tackled there. France gets tackled, and you see the Fijians are more concerned about spreading out for the defense than what they are concerned in competing in those breakdowns. And quite often when they compete in the breakdowns, like you can see there on the screen, is usually when they're off their feet, and this is not always, but a lot of the times they get caught off their feet, and that is the problem there for them competing in those breakdowns. Now here we look at Wales. Now, when we look at Wales, you can see Wales are they were quite competitive still with South Africa when it comes to the breakdowns. You see them over the ball quite often. If there's a tackle, look at how many players are fully committed and very, very quick to get over the ball and clean out ball, because they know what South Africa can do. And this is the thing that I just feel with the Welsh team that they could have the advantage, is they are pretty quick over the breakdown, as you can see, you know. And then just generally looking at Welsh defense and the structures that they've got when they defend, you'll see they come up very structured as a line. And yes, they have not been great lately, but their defense is not too bad when it comes to the defense with the forwards. They have got a pretty good structured defense where they come up in a line and kind of press the fence. They come up in a line and kind of press the fence to try and, you know, stop the opposition. And if you can look at this, you can clearly see that, you know, the English were struggling to get through. The Welsh, they're not too bad at their defense, guys. Really, especially when it comes to the forwards. I am just posing the question that maybe the Fijians are just going to be beaten at the breakdown, and that's where you lose or win games, guys. You know, look, that's the one place where, you know, really at the breakdowns is where you win or lose games. And I just feel that if you look at the general defense at the breakdowns, you see really good defense from the Welsh. Now, guys, the next thing I wanted to go to is actually lineouts. It's very, very messy usually in Fijian lineouts. They've not been able to consistently get good line-out ball. You know, the French, obviously one of the best in the world, totally, you know, outsmarted the Fijians when it came to the line-outs. And that's another place where I would ask my questions, compared to the Welsh, having played a lot of Six Nations, kind of got a pretty decent established line-out. I just sometimes have to look at the Fijians. When they get their line-outs right, they're pretty good at it. But if they don't, then it ends up in these type of situations where there's intercepts, because it's very kind of unstructured. If you look at the way that the Welsh play, it's pretty much like most of the higher tier teams, where they're pretty solid on their lineouts, and then they form their rolling maul and work at their rolling maul. From a Fijian point of view, they quite, you know, disorganized when it comes to the lineouts. They don't that often. They do go to the rolling maul, but sometimes it's just not organized enough. And I'm not making the Wales this amazing team that, you know, has got everything down to the T. Don't get me wrong, guys. And I know I've got Fijian fans that also watch this. We're just realistically looking at this game. And I'm just realistically saying, when we look at all the parts of the game, we've looked at the breakdown. Now we are actually looking at lineouts. It's two places where the Fijians are going to struggle, because we know what the Welsh is capable of in those type of scenarios. They have not had the best form of late, but I just don't think, when I'm looking at what the Welsh can do with the rolling maul, as you can see there, when their rolling maul starts going, it is quite dangerous. And I'm just asking those questions. I'm not saying that the Fijians don't have a rolling maul. I'm not saying any of that. My question is just on the defense from the Fijians, on the rolling mauls, all of that. Then moving on, let's have a look at scrums. So when we look at scrums, you can see the Fijians versus the English. And the English are not in great form, guys. Their scrums is not the best in the world. But, you know, they won a few penalties against Fiji in that game. So their set piece is a bit concerning. You can see they're not that strong. Because to be honest, I think the Welsh are going to be a bit stronger in their scrums than what England is at the moment. And are they going to be ready from a set piece point of view to be able to compete? You know, you can see from a Welsh point of view, when they played England last, they were able to win quite a few scrums. You know, and that's just what I'm asking is, are they going to be up for it in the set piece? And this is all just preparation from the coaches, guys. The Fijian coaches can be prepared for this, and then it's a different story. But it's just generally set piece, forward type play. Here you can see again rolling maul. the Fijians wasn't too great stopping the English from the rolling mauls as well. And that's another question to be asked. Like, you got to ask these questions if these two teams are going to go up. So it's just looking generally at set piece type rugby from the Fijians. They still feel to me like they're lacking a bit in, you know, just general structure, just their commitment to rolling mauls, their commitment to cleaning out rucks, because they play a very different style rugby, which we all love, which is a more, you know, minimal commitment to, you know, mauls and scrums, to kind of spread the players out, you know, for counter attack, for running type rugby, and just for this defense structures. Now, don't get me wrong when I'm saying the Fijians are outstanding when it comes to their backline defense. Every time that England tried to attack from a backline point of view, they were struggling. The backline's defense is outstanding. Those big men know what they're doing in the backline. They really defend well. Cover defense is pretty decent from them. But when it comes to the forwards, I just feel they can't stop those rolling mauls, man. And it's something that you need to think about coming to the World Cup, because the guys are going to play structured like that. It's not going to, the teams are not going to allow this open type play straight away. It's going to be tight at the start. And you're going to have to defend rolling mauls. Now, looking on the other side from a Welsh point of view, they were able to hold a lot of the Springboks rolling mauls. Not all the time, but a lot of them they could. So I'm just asking those questions. And that's just looking at this game specifically to ask, is the Fijians going to have enough? Will the Fijians have enough when it comes to those rolling mauls, when it comes to those line-outs, when it comes to the set-piece scrums? Are they going to have enough to compete against Wales? Because it all starts up front, guys. Your backline can't do anything without good ball. Now, the Fijians are coming from some great confidence with the last few wins. But this one against England, I really just don't think you can read that much out of that game. It was kind of like a very, very poor performance from England all round. And I don't know. I'm sure you guys in the comments are going to tell me something different, but this is what I've seen in the game, and this is what I analyze. I've looked at the last two games from Fiji, and I've looked at the last two games from Wales. And when I'm looking at breakdown, set piece, all those kind of, you know, dynamics of the game, it just don't seem like the Fijians are that strong. And then the last factor, of course, the Dan Biggar factor, which I've put in here. If you look at someone like a Dan Biggar and just that kick, that pinpoint kick across the field, obviously this one ended up in a penalty, Freddie Stewart, I think in a card. But generally, that's the Dan Biggar factor. If you see his way of distributing the ball, watch him in he came on only second half in the game between England and Wales. And how he distributes the ball and how he plays deeper with his backline and create opportunities and kind of create things where there's nothing is a big factor. The Dan Biggar factor for the Fijians is going to be a challenge, because he will have an impact on the game. He can literally kick you out of the game. Like, he's the type of player that will be looking for the space out wide, you know, and if they play that forward type, set piece forward type rugby, they could really be dangerous when you got the Dan Biggar factor, where Dan Biggar starts doing his cross kicks, his you know, little tactical kicks, looking for 50-22s, kind of trying to spread the ball out wide. You know, he's a big, you know, he's a bit of a weapon to have on the field. For me, guys, then if you ask, okay, so what must the Fijians do? Well, this is what I think the Fijians must do. They need to move the ball. They need to speed up the game. Here you can see, when the Springboks speed up the game, they run it wide. There was tries against Wales. They were able to score. So for me, I think definitely that's the way the Fijians will have to play to their strengths. For all of us, including me, I just so hope that the Fijians can pull it off to play that rugby, running type rugby, and probably be the first upset in the World Cup if they can beat the Welsh. But man, I have to feel it's going to be a tough ask. It's going to be, I feel it's going to be a very, very close game. And you got, you know, Caleb Muntz. I don't know if he'll be playing in this game, but he was kicking outstanding in the last game. They've got all the players. It's just a little bit for me of the lack in the forward pack, being able to execute everything very well and not play scrappy, because sometimes they just play too loose and too scrappy, and if they lose their form, that is the biggest concern for me. That doesn't mean Fiji cannot do it in this World Cup and they cannot win this game. I hope you enjoyed my video and you enjoyed my reaction to this, and I'm going to be doing this right to the World Cup. So if you want to be notified of all these videos coming out, please hit the subscribe button below, and I am going to catch you in the next one. I want to thank each of you that's watching, and I'll catch you again. Thanks, bye.